Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. It's been a little while since I've posted videos here on YouTube, and I guess it doesn't matter to my 285 subscribers, but nevertheless, I'm back doing my thing because I kind of enjoy it. It's fun, it's a nice way to use my technology, and it's a good way to communicate with people. So that's the reason why I do it. However, if you want to subscribe to my channel, I won't object. So please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for further notifications, because as time goes by, I'll certainly be producing more videos on a more regular basis, because there's just so much that can be talked about. And what I want to have a chat to you about today is the way Sky News have decided to highlight one aspect of Fauci attending a select committee. And the reason why I'm going to talk about this is because it is interesting to watch the way they demonise Anthony Fauci for doing possibly what was one of the toughest jobs that one could imagine to have had in the administration under Trump and then Biden. And the reason why it was so interesting to watch is that they chose a clip here from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who simply has to be rated as one of the worst human beings on this planet. She's coming second to Donald Trump, I suspect. But nevertheless, she is an appalling human being, and she distorts and provides disinformation about almost anything that is, in this particular case, anything that Fauci did. Now, I think it's worth noting that Fauci has a history of 54 years working for the health for those people in the United States and those people around the world. He has a VC that most of us would die for, I guess. It's a fabulous resume, and yet he was held out as he was demonised for the way he handled the pandemic, because on the right, particularly the cookers on the right, believed that we shouldn't have had lockdowns, and we shouldn't have had masks, and we shouldn't have had schools closed, and we shouldn't have had the 6 feet distancing that we did. So, what does all of this mean? Well, what it means is that the right are getting their knickers in a knot, because people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are talking about the things that Fauci did that they disagree with. Now, as came out, now what I did was, when this hearing was being televised, I actually watched it. I was up at 1 o'clock in the morning watching Fauci get the grilling. Now, there were lots of people on the left who were congratulating Fauci for the work that he had done, and recognised him as some sort of a hero. Perhaps that's a bit over the mark, but nevertheless, they were seeing him as a hero for the way he handled and conducted himself throughout the pandemic. Now, the key issue here, which I want to make before I play this video from Sky News, is that, number one, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a disgusting human being, and you can't believe anything that she says. And number two is that Fauci did not have, and the government did not have, and science did not have the information that they required in order to adequately understand the trajectory of the pandemic, the virus, and what this meant to people and how to manage these circumstances. I can remember initially, and you might be able to remember too, that initially we thought that the virus stayed on surfaces for a certain period of time, and we needed to wipe down all surfaces, and later on they discovered that it was more airborne, and it was from the aerosols of the virus that we would be more likely to be infected. So this is so that the ideas around the virus and how to manage it changed over time as more and more information became available. What sort of masks we could use, whether masks were appropriate, whether they were effective or not, was a different debate, because the information was not available to us because we hadn't experienced a virus such as this previously. And Fauci was wrestling with all of this. And in his testimony, he admits that they didn't know. And the fact that they didn't know is an interesting admission, because not all the data was available to them. They were gathering the data as the virus progressed. Now, there is no disputing whatsoever that some of the efforts taken to develop a vaccine in 11 months was outstanding, and that alone saved millions of lives. What we also need to mention is that Donald Trump suggested that we should inject ourselves with all sorts of substances that were completely unfounded and would have killed people, and in some instances did. So let's hold Trump accountable for his stupidity, which no one seems to do. But in this case, they're focusing particularly on Fauci. So I'll play a first bit of this interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Well, let's go to the US now, where Dr. Anthony Fauci, the top pandemic advisor to both the Trump and Biden administrations, was grilled by a House panel investigating the origins of COVID, and boy, was it explosive.
And we need to say that this particular committee was designed to, as he said, look at the origins of COVID and to work out what it is that we have learnt from COVID and what is it, therefore, that we can implement in the future to prevent us from experiencing a similar pandemic in the way that we experienced COVID. So that is the purpose of this meeting, not to hammer Fauci, as Marjorie Taylor Greene and many of the other people have chosen to do.
House Republicans interrogating Fauci about mask mandates, vaccines and the so-called science behind lockdowns did not hold back. Have a look at this exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Republican congresswoman from Georgia.
Your science is displayed perfectly in this picture where children in school were put in plastic bubbles because of your science. Your repulsive, evil science. And let's go back to your very...
Of course, we must remember that Marjorie Taylor Greene, herself a renowned scientist, knows all about these issues, has certainly done the research, and certainly picks out a few elements. Now, that picture, I can remember seeing that picture. I can remember seeing that picture of those kids and thinking, well, what was that all about? Maybe that was just a creative way of kids still being able to play their instruments. It wasn't a big deal, but however, to Marjorie Taylor Greene, it clearly was.
Very own email. You said earlier you don't use email. Oh, you do. Right here. This is your own email where you said the typical mask you buy in the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus. I do not recommend that you wear a mask. This is your email. This is your own words.
Joining me now is former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, welcome. Extraordinary scenes from that hearing.
And of course, I always think it's great when I see Sean Spicer, because this is the man that said that it was the biggest crowd ever at the inauguration of Donald Trump. And it wasn't. So why is it we'd believe anything that this particular dude has to say?
Most startling was that Fauci, who once described himself as the personification of science, admitted so many of the restrictions imposed on the American people during the pandemic were not based on science at all.
That's right. You just played part of that exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it was just one of several. I tell you, James, I think that we could eliminate our debt if we started charging to air some of these hearings, because they've become must-see TV.
And I think, he has a point. The Republicans tend to want to make it about these bites of information, these bites of misinformation that fund interest in what's happening. But what they didn't talk about were the number of people from the Democratic side who did talk about the value in the work that Fauci had done. There was far more to this meeting than there was just about Marjorie Taylor Greene. So to focus on Marjorie Taylor Greene's performance is disingenuous towards the actual reason for having these meetings in the first place. Because at the end of the day, it was trying to work out what we can do in the future if faced with another pandemic. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you love Marjorie Taylor Greene, best of luck to you, because clearly you have an intellectual problem. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Be happy to hear from you. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, keep you and the families and the people that you love safe. Take care. Bye.